Welcome to American Axle's Forklift Training Session, General Safe Operating Requirements. What you are about to see is our training video for powered industrial trucks. This video captures important information and requirements we expect forklift operators to follow. In a facility like ours, the powered industrial truck presents some unique hazards in the workplace. Because of the size and strength of these trucks, there is a realistic potential of serious injury to oneself or to others. In striving to be an accident-free workplace, we desire to minimize and eliminate these risks by properly training our forklift operators and by having our forklift operators comply with the expectations and procedures covered in this training. Operating a forklift is a safety-sensitive responsibility and can be taken away from an operator if one is not demonstrating safe operation. Forklifts are very important tools for successful and efficient operation of our facility. Just like all other tools and operations, our forklift priorities are number 1, safety, 2, quality, 3, productivity. We would like to thank you in advance for your serious attention to this important training. Only operators with a current valid permit are allowed to operate a PIV. Requirements include completion of this training and corresponding written test, satisfactory review of hands-on operation of PIV in the facility. PIV permit is valid for 3 years. Operator must have corrected vision to meet same standards as a state-issued driver's license. Be of a height sufficient to operate the controls and have an unobstructed view over the controls and dashboard. Have use of all 4 limbs. Truck shall not be driven up to any person standing in front of a bench or other fixed object. No person shall be allowed to stand or pass under the elevated portion of any PIV, loaded or unloaded. Unauthorized personnel are not permitted to ride on or drive a PIV. Employees are prohibited from placing arms or legs between the uprights of the mast or the outside of the running lines of a forklift and within arm's length of scissor or BOM lifts. Unattended PIVs are to have load engaging means fully lowered, controls neutralized, power shut off, and brakes set. A PIV is unattended when the operator is 25 feet or more away, in view, or when the PIV is not in his or her view. When the PIV is dismounted and unattended, load engaging means shall be fully lowered, controls neutralized, and brakes set to prevent movement. PIVs are not to be operated in areas lacking sufficient headroom. Windshields and overhead guards shall be used as deemed appropriate for the type of loading and unloading. Once in place, they should only be removed by maintenance. The PIV should then be taken out of service for the type of loading and unloading the guard protected against until it is reinstalled. A load backrest shall be used whenever necessary to minimize the possibility of the load falling back towards the operator. Only stable loads should be handled. No loads greater than the design capacity shall be hauled. PIVs at AAM Litchfield are fitted with safety blue lights in both directions to alert pedestrians of the PIV's presence. These lights are considered safety devices and must be checked to make sure they are properly calibrated and operating effectively. Loads shall be lifted only as high as necessary to clear the road surface and also be tilted back to prevent tipping or sliding during a stop. Under all conditions, the truck shall be operated at a safe speed that will permit it to be brought to a stop in a safe manner. The driver is required to maneuver, turn, stop, and travel with the truck under full control at all times. The driver shall be required to slow for wet and slippery surfaces. Before operating a forklift, a driver should be familiar with the operating instructions, warnings, vehicle capacity, and any precautions based on the type of powered industrial vehicle and facility conditions. It is important to note that there are unique hazards for our Litchfield facility. Specifically, there are ramps in the chip room and in the viscous plant that need to be carefully navigated. Additionally, we use our PIVs to assist in dumping chip hoppers. It is important to note that PIVs at AAM Litchfield are able to be used everywhere in the facility. Safe distance will be maintained from the edge of ramps and platforms. PIVs shall not be used for opening or closing any doors. Brakes, dock locks, and/or wheel chocks will be utilized on all tractor trailers before entering with a powered industrial vehicle. No platform should be used on the forks of a truck for lifting personnel, unless equipped with power shut-down device for the personnel on the platform. We do not have such platforms at Litchfield operations. Instead, use proper PIV, scissor lift, or BOM. Visual inspection shall be made of the trailer flooring for weaknesses or other unsafe conditions. All aisles and accesses shall be maintained and free of obstruction. Stacking in a work cell. Containers can only be stacked too high. Dunnage or parts on a flat pallet may be stacked to an equivalent height. Stacking shall not exceed 5 high or equivalent. Stacking pallets, bins, tubs, etc. above the mast is not permitted in the facility. All traffic regulations shall be observed, including speed limits. A safe distance shall be maintained, 3 truck lengths, from the truck ahead, and the truck shall be under control at all times. The right-of-way shall always be given to all pedestrians and emergency equipment. All grades shall be ascended and descended slowly. Trucks traveling the same direction shall not be passed unless the truck is at a complete stop, parked, or otherwise motionless. A driver is required to slow and sound horn at cross aisles and other locations where vision is obstructed. If the load obstructs forward view, the driver shall travel with the load trailing. The driver is required to look in the direction of travel and keep a clear view of the travel path. Mirrors are not to be used for driving in reverse. Dock boards and bridge plates shall be properly secured and traversed slowly and carefully. Rated capacity shall not be exceeded. Drivers will avoid running over loose objects and clear objects before driving around known such hazards. If the PIV has a seatbelt attached, it is a requirement that it be worn by the operator while the truck is being used. It is unacceptable to purposely damage or remove a seatbelt. The anatomy of a fork truck. A fork truck may weigh up to 3 times an automobile. The weight of the load and the weight of the fork truck must remain in balance at all times. The center of gravity is a single point within any object around, with the object is balanced in all directions. This is one of the most important considerations when operating a forklift. Both the forklift and the load have a center of gravity, and together they have a combined center of gravity. You cannot see the center of gravity, but it is there, and it moves depending on the load weight, position and height, vehicle speed, and other factors. While automobiles have a 4-point suspension system, a forklift has a 3-point suspension. In order for the forklift to remain stable, the center of gravity must remain inside a triangle formed by the 3 points of suspension. If the center of gravity exits the triangle, the forklift becomes unstable and may tip over. The center of gravity moves depending on the weight of the load, its height, and its position. It also moves as the forklift turns around a corner, accelerates, or brakes. That is why it is important to travel with the load low and turn corners at a slow and controlled speed. If the forklift tilts as it travels across an incline, the center of gravity will move. When it exits the triangle, as the red vertical line of action shows, the forklift may tip over. This is a very important principle to remember when the operator must travel across unlevel or unstable ground. The fork truck turns by utilizing wheels on the rear of the fork truck. This causes swing that may cause unintended truck movement into an area. At aisle intersections, operators shall arrange tubs or containers in a manner that allows unobstructed view for pedestrians and vehicle traffic. Stack 2 high at closest points of intersections. Stack 3 high at the next closest to the intersection. Top heights of all containers must allow for an 18-inch clearance between sprinkler heads and all other fixtures or connectors on the ceiling. When placing loads on shelving, the exterior of the load should be flush with the shelving unit. No overhang is allowed. Pallet loads that lean should never be elevated or placed on a shelf. Loads that lean should never have another load placed on top of them. The right-of-way shall be given to pedestrians and emergency equipment. At American Axle Litchfield, the aisleways are shared between pedestrians, PIV traffic, and other equipment. Unless a pedestrian yields the right-of-way, pedestrians have the right-of-way at AAM Litchfield. Maintain aisle integrity, no shortcutting. Be aware of red poles. Do not stack tubs or containers that limit the accessibility to red poles or electrical panels. If you see a red pole or electrical panel blocked, correct it. Do not skid tubs along the floor. Do not hit the floor with the forks. Dumping of a chip hopper. Do not travel with a load in front. Secure the safety chain from the hopper to the forklift. Slightly tilt the hopper forward into the correct bin. Safely release the hopper to empty content. Return hopper to its proper position. At the start of each shift, the PIV operator will perform daily checks of the equipment. These inspections will be documented on the designated pre-shift inspection checklist, which are maintained on each PIV. Any defects that would affect the safe operation of the equipment as found during the daily pre-shift inspection shall be repaired before usage. The PIV shall be taken out of use and these sheets are to be turned into the maintenance department. Propane has been odorized, so leaks should be easily detectable by smell. Any propane cylinder found with a leak should not be used and removed to an area outside of the building, away from any ignition sources, in a well-ventilated area and allowed to drain. Leaking propane may accumulate along floors and low areas since it is heavier than air. An employee detecting a leak should notify their supervisor or safety manager. The supervisor or safety manager will ensure that the tank has been removed to a well-ventilated area and labeled defective on a wired tag. The propane vendor will take the tank for repair. An operator shall promptly report any defect on the PIV to AAM supervisor or AAM maintenance for resolution. PIVs emit exhaust gases, including carbon monoxide and components of diesel exhaust. Carbon monoxide is a byproduct of incomplete combustion of propane used as fuel. Exposure to carbon monoxide in excessive levels can be dangerous to human health. Symptoms of carbon monoxide overexposure include nausea, dizziness, headaches, confusion, and hallucinations. PIV operators are responsible for monitoring their PIV on a continuous basis. Noticeable changes in vehicle performance or exhaust emissions should be brought to the attention of a supervisor, maintenance manager, or safety manager. If additional exhaust is being emitted into the plant, the PIV shall be taken out of service until it is repaired. Battery charging will be done in designated areas only, which will contain no smoking signs, good ventilation, no combustibles, fire extinguisher. Only a trained and authorized employee will perform battery changing, charging, or both. To charge a battery while still on a PIV, follow these steps. Wear proper PPE, safety glasses and gloves. Set emergency brake, lower forks to lowest position. Shut off truck. Open battery compartment for ventilation. Connect charger to battery hookup. Charger has automatic delay circuit before charger turns and then turns off when the charging cycle is complete. Hydrogen gas is formed during battery charging. Good ventilation is essential in area of charging. Hydrogen is colorless, odorless, tasteless gas. Hydrogen is an asphyxiant and a severe explosive hazard when exposed to heat or flames. Only licensed PIV operators or trained maintenance employees are allowed to check battery levels and fill with the needed deionized water. Proper PPE, face shield and rubber gloves, are required. A PIV operator is required to report all incidents, near-miss incidents, and accidents involving injury to an employee or damage to buildings and equipment to your supervisor immediately. The supervisor will complete a property incident report, including details of the situation and appropriate corrective actions. An incident is an occurrence that costs money as a result of what happened, like sorting costs or a required repair. Examples could include, but are not restricted to, events such as hitting equipment, hitting parts of the building, or dropping a load. A near miss could include, but is not restricted to, the following examples: driving too fast, swerving, or locking brakes to avoid hitting someone. An accident is an incident that results in an injury either to the operator, someone else, or both, regardless of the severity of the injury. Always wear required PPE, safety glasses, and rubber gloves. Only licensed, permitted operators are allowed to change the propane tanks. Lower forks. Put PIV in neutral and set parking brake. Leave engine running. Shut off the supply valve to purge the system. Turn off the ignition. After engine has stopped, shut tank valve off. Loosen the hose connector nut and remove the hose. Disengage straps. Remove tank. Reverse procedure to install new tank. In addition to this training, PIV operators will complete an operations evaluation. This evaluation will include operation of vehicle controls, driving capabilities, loading and unloading. Initial training is valid for a maximum of 3 years. After that period, a refresher training is required and includes classroom training, written exam, and hands-on evaluation of each PIV he or she is certified to operate. Refresher training is also required for failure to follow stock rotation, preservation, or receiving inspection procedures, observed unsafe operation, involvement in a near miss, incident, or accident, evaluation revealing that operator is not operating truck safely, operator assigned to a different kind of PIV, condition and workplace changes affecting safe operation of the PIV. Powered industrial vehicles are very important tools utilized in our facility. It is important to keep in mind that PIVs also present a significant hazard to our workplace. Permitted PIV operators must always work safely and err on the side of caution. This includes complete daily inspection check sheets, operate at appropriate speed, no obstructed or distracted driving, use horns at intersections and other limited visibility areas, always yield to pedestrians, stack appropriately. Do not stack too high, and do not stack in a way to limit accessibility to fire extinguishers, exits, or electrical panels. Maintain aisleway integrity, no stacking on yellow lines. Thank you for your attention to this important training. At American Axle Litchfield, safety has no quitting time.